Hey, hello, welcome to the show. It is me, John Park, and here we are in my workshop. So that means it is time for John Park's workshop. Thanks for stopping by. Thanks for heading over into our chats. Thanks for checking us out over on all the different places that we are streaming right now. If you're looking for the chat in a place where we're streaming and there doesn't seem to be one, then head on over to our Discord server and look for the live broadcast chat channel. You can get there by going to adafruit.it/discord. And this is it right here. Look, there's our Discord. And hello to Thin Man and Blitz City DIY, Andy Calloway, Paul Cutler, Some Nice, Big Red Pimp. Thank you very much for stopping by. My glasses are super smudged, so I'm gonna do one of those right there if you don't mind. And then, probably not supposed to inhale that, are you? Over in our YouTube, hello to Beatagraf Avdelhagen. Thanks for stopping by. Looks like YouTube is struggling a little bit with the stream, so I'm gonna, let's see, hold 1 second, holding pattern. It's saying stream is healthy. Okay, yeah, it's just glitching a little bit there, but hopefully that's good now. Let me know if you experience any difficulties. Looks like we're streaming okay over on the other places too. So those are our chats. Hey there, C. Grover. Thanks for stopping by as well. Let me get that out of the way there. Clear that. Yeah, a bit of a buffer there. All right, we'll let it settle down. Sta calmo. Settle down stream. Yeah, YouTube. YouTube's saying it's not receiving enough video to maintain a smooth stream. I'll give it a second and then I'll kick the broadcast once. All of my usual checks seemed to indicate we'd have healthy, bit of, probably the heat, could be. All right, hold on for a moment. No data. Oh, hey, now it's excellent. Okay, YouTube, make up your mind. Is this just a YouTube problem? Could be. Pause that right there. We'll let everything catch up. All right, I'm going to guess that that's okay now, but let me keep an eye on the YouTube health. All right, so what do we have going on here today? A bit of a shorter show, I think. I'm working on a bunch of different projects that are all not in a very seemingly different state from last time. I've just been working on the writing of some guides and fixing up code and uploading it. So I'm not going to show the briefcase build attaché today, but I will next week because I got some changes that'll be ready for next week. Same with Demo Scene. Demo Scene, you've seen it where it is, the Adafruit project. I just uploaded the code for that. I'll show you where that is if you want to check it out early before the guide. I do have a CircuitPython Parsec for you. I've got a coupon code for you. I have a product pick of the week recap. And I've also got a little bit of maybe a preview for a project. There may be a project brewing here involving a Pepper's Ghost. And so I just wanted to do a little preview of that. That might be something I'm going to work on, so we'll see. But as I said, I've got a coupon code for you. So if you want to head over to the Adafruit shop, if you want to buy some stuff, buy stuff from us. That keeps our lights on. That's how this works. Lets us keep streaming. You can get 10% off, however. So if you head on over to the Adafruit shop this week, or today I should say, you can save 10% by just typing in the word ampere. Why? Because last week was voltage. So ampere will save you a whopping 10% off in our store on anything that we can ship to you. It's not good on gift certificates or subscriptions or software, but it's good on physical goods. And let me pull up my browser here, because this is the shop. If you just go to adafruit.com, you have entered the shop. You're in the store. So head on over there and check out. You can go to the products section. We've got featured products. We got new products. We have all the different categories there. Go check some stuff out. Go see what's new or what's old or what's interesting. You can also go, by the way, over to the Learn Guide. Here's a little trick. And hit the dice. You see up here on the top, there's a little pair of dice. You click that, you'll get a, hey, there's younger me from 2016. Geez, that's 10 years ago. With the Circuit Playground Class Scheduler project. And go check out some of the things in there. Maybe you want a Circuit Playground Classic. We've still got those. We'll sell you one of those and you'll get 10% off. Save $2 or $1.99 rounding up. So that's one way to just look around for some interesting stuff. Just hit that dice there and you will run into all kinds of interesting stuff. It's a fun blast from the past sometimes to click on these. But yeah, go check out the Learn Guides, hit the dice, find something you like, and then head on over to Adafruit and throw some things in your cart, and you will save 10% off with that coupon code AMPERE. That is good until midnight tonight, East Coast time, after which it turns into a pumpkin. So go buy some stuff. Another thing I'll mention, in the shop, if you want to buy a bunch of stuff, you can get a little bit of free stuff. So if you go to adafruit.com/free, you'll see that we can give you a free coaster for $99. It's an Adafruit coaster. If you spend $99 in the store, you'll get the free coaster. If you spend $149, these stack, so you'll get the coaster as well as a KB2040. And then if you spend $199 or more in the continental United States, you'll get free ground shipping with UPS as well as the KB2040 and the coaster. So those are some freebies. You can always find out what freebies we've got going with adafruit.com/free. Free with a purchase, I should say. Right. So let's see. Next up, let me just, I gotta fix, I forgot to swap these out for this week. So that's not this week's product pick. That was last week. So give me a moment here. We're gonna swap-a-roo with, let's see, that right there. That's this week's product pick. And let me swap out the that is the product pick of the week this week. It is the nope, that was last week. Hold on. There we are. Okay, this may work. It's a 12-bit, 8-channel ADC and GPIO expander. You can see that first one's value changing, second one. One more try, here we go. The ADS 7128, it's a 12-bit, 8-channel ADC and GPIO expander. You can see that first one's value changing, second one, third one. But you may have also noticed over on my CircuitPy, the onboard NeoPixel RGB value are being set as I adjust these. So we can go to red, green, blue. I'm also adjusting the brightness value. So with the digital inputs I have here, the first one just sets that brightness to 0, next one to I think 0.3, and the next one is at 1. There we go. I have a threshold set for turning on the red LED. S7128 8-channel ADC and GPIO expander with Stemma QT. Yes, it is. What kind of projects are you using yours for? We sold quite a few of those yesterday. I'd love to see what you're throwing those into. One comment actually Tyeth made yesterday in the YouTube chat, and I missed it before the end of the show, but I thought it was a good thing to point out, is this is a really excellent expander for your Raspberry Pi or other single board computers that might not have an ADC at all. And this will let you pick up 8 of them. You can change the address and a resistor on them to get up to 8 of them on a single I2C bus. So a whole lot of analog ADC analog reads that you can use. Oh, Big Red Pimp says a nice bit of kit. Looks like I have another expander to add to the GP2040 CE support. Oh, very interesting. Yeah, that could be a good one to add there for some knob input. I'll be doing more with GP2040 CE in the future, and I am kind of curious about some of the expander or add-ons that are available, like spinners. You doing spinners? I think you're doing spinners. Interesting. So that was the product pick for this week, and now I want to get into a bit of a CircuitPython Parsec. Okay, for the CircuitPython Parsec today, I wanted to talk about using RotoZoom in order to rotate a bitmap inside of CircuitPython. Here you can see I've got a little Lars BMP on a TFT Featherwing. This is the capacitive touch TFT Featherwing, someone I showed last week. And it's got a feather pin out, so a feather plugs into the bottom of it with header pins. I've got the Feather RP2350 plugged into here. And let me flip this back over. So this is a touch screen, and you can see as I touch the touch screen and slide up and down, I'm changing the rotation of this little Lars BMP. So you can see we can spin them all the way around. We've got cumulative rotations on there. And to keep it simple, I'm not moving him, I'm not scaling him, I'm just doing the most basic thing, which is rotating him from a central pivot point. It's a Lars spinner. So the way this works, let me flip you back upside down there, Lars, or right side up. The way this works inside of CircuitPython, the key thing here, I've got my HX8357 and FT5336 libraries loaded, which allows me to use the display and the touch input on it. I'm using bitmap tools in order to get access to a few things, including the RotoZoom. So I'm going to scroll down here past some of this typical stuff that we do when we're setting up a display I/O with a tile grid, setting up a hierarchy of display objects. I'm using a palette to knock out a transparency color on my BMP. And then this is the key thing right here. I'm using this command, bitmaptools.rotozoom. I have it inside of a function, and that's the function that I'm calling every time I touch the touch screen and slide, so that we have a reference point and an adjustment. The arguments for this are the bitmap tools RotoZoom. We have essentially a source and a destination bitmap. You can think of it as like a little canvas that we're able to rotate that I'm casting this onto. So the destination we're setting up, which we created up earlier, it's this display I/O bitmap of a certain size with the palette of that bitmap that I've imported. And then the source, which is, sorry, did I say that backwards? Yeah, the source is the one that I'm reading off of the disk here. Destination is the one that we cast it onto. And then what we're changing all the time is that destination. So we have the origin of it and the position of it on screen, and then we have an angle value. So all we need to do once we've set this up to change it is to adjust that value, angle. If you look at the initial draw here, I have it set to rotate essentially 270 degrees. I have this work in radians right now, but if we change that to 0, this is how it comes in initially, just because of my screen orientation and my bitmap orientation. So here's a using RotoZoom just to adjust. It's this bitmap tools, rotozoom, destination, source, origin, pixel, and then the angle right here of 0 currently. If we change that back to my 4.7 roughly radians, then we're going to spin it around 270 degrees and it'll get Lars facing straight up. In the main loop here, we're just checking for touch using the capacitive touch library here. So if touch is touched, then we're going to try to find any touch points and use the first one. So if you touch with multiple fingers, we're only counting one of them right here, tracking one of them. So that first touch point is equal to T, and then we're checking to see when we adjust it, how much we move. For that number of pixels that we're moving, we're going to create an angle right here, which is this formula right here, and this is dealing with it in radians. Once we've figured out the value of the rotation angle, then we just use that function draw rotated angle, and it adjusts the bitmap. So it's really smooth, really fast. This is a 128 by 128 indexed BMP file, 8-bit that I'm using right here, but you can see it's actually quite responsive, running right here in CircuitPython. And so that is how you can use rotozoom to adjust the rotation of an object around its central pivot point inside of CircuitPython using rotozoom. And that is your CircuitPython Parsec. Okay, and thank you to Todd Bot for the suggestion on that. I was we were chatting and he said, hey, have you ever covered rotozoom? There's some interesting stuff in it that I might cover in the future, including things like adjusting your pivot points. So if you want to, rather than spin a thing from the center, maybe spin it from some external pivot point. It can be helpful for graphic programs, helpful for game stuff. So you don't have to use a touchscreen with this. Of course, you could use something like a rotary encoder or a potentiometer for an absolute rotation. But neat stuff. And actually, rotozoom on my mind because of the demo scene project. Is this one of them right here? I can't remember. Yeah, I think this is. I've shown enough of that. I'll review the guide with you once I have that. But my demo scene code, my 90s Amiga style demo scene code includes a rotozoom demo, which is rotating a tiled set of bitmaps as well as scaling them or zooming them. Yeah, and Todd points out that the rotozoom bitmap tools function is really helpful when you're using the round GC9801 displays. So any of those round TFT displays that you can use for clocks and radar displays and stuff like that. Very helpful to have rotozoom on those. Right. So let's see, that covers all of those things. Checking my notes. Let me check in with the chats as well. Ty said, mostly okay there, one minor blip and catch-up. You're blaming the outdoor Wi-Fi. No, I think it's me. I think it was my something in the YouTube, the stream from here to restream to YouTube went a little goofy. Hello, NetVentive. Hello there, Bert Nar. Nice to see you. Let me just check in with my Discord. Good. Okay, so I wanted to talk about, I mentioned a possible upcoming project, and it is related to Space Invaders. So Space Invaders Arcade Cabinet, along with a few others from Taito at the time, is interesting because they really liked to use optical gags or gimmicks in some of their cabinets, including the Pepper's Ghost effect. Briefly, the Pepper's Ghost effect is something that you see in theme parks. Disney's famous for one in Haunted Mansion, in early films that were creating visual effects or special effects in theatrical applications. I think the Masonic Lodges are pretty famous for using Pepper's Ghost effects to have skeletons show up on people. And the basic idea of it is a 45-degree partially tinted mirror or piece of glass allows you to reflect, let me use this hand, reflect an object at a 45-degree angle that is, the object is 90 degrees from the viewer, and a reflection goes towards the viewer, but you can also see through the other side. So see how you can see me here and my hand coming at you. Those two things happening at the same time. That's the basic Pepper's ghost effect. And the way I'm going to show you, let me grab an image here. 1 second to show you over in my browser. So here's someone showing off an arcade, it's a half-size Space Invaders arcade build, so it's using an old television and a piece of glass there, or slightly mirrored glass. And so you can see the cabinet was in the base or middle of, the monitor was in the middle or the base of the cabinet, with the screen pointing up at that 45-degree piece of glass that you are looking at as you play. So you're seeing a flipped version of the monitor. So the game was actually sent to the raster display backwards, horizontally flipped. Comes up, bounces into your eyes, so you're seeing that, but then it's a partial mirror surface, so you can see behind it. And behind it, they had this moonscape, which was sort of a shadow box of a couple pieces of cardboard with a black light behind it. So that's, and this is a nice example here because you can see really brightly that white screen showing up in the display on the mirror glass. But then once you're playing the game, let's see if we scroll down just a little bit, that TV down below is what's casting that, that game image that you see there. So the little Space Invaders, see if I can zoom this up a bit. The little Space Invaders there are the display. They were black and white. And then the background, in this case, it looks like it's kind of just blue, but that's a colorful background back there of this orangish moonscape and a blue night sky. So that's the basic Pepper's ghost effect, and this is a really neat use of it. The additional trick that was used in some Space Invaders cabinets, I think maybe this came in the sequel, Space Invaders 2, or Deluxe Space Invaders, as it was called in the US, which was a 3-color or 2-color gel that was in front of the image. So you had green bases and a player, but it was actually a black and white monitor. So it kept it simple by using a black and white display, but you got some color because certain things kind of never move up and down. I believe the UFO was up in a red strip, and I think that mostly the invaders were in a clear strip or a yellow strip, depending on the version. So that's kind of something I'm interested in seeing if I can replicate with either a smaller scale setup using a TFT display, or maybe use one of my black and white CRTs and make a small scale Space Invaders cabinet running a MAME ROM or something like that. So something going on there with that. And I wanted to show you my attempt at putting together a 5-minute demo of the technique over here. So let me just head over to the workbench in a second. First, I was to say, Big Red Pimp says similar effect used in Sega's Time Traveler Laserdisc-based arcade games. So many quarters sunk into that. Yeah, let me know other games that that you remember that used this trick. It's a really good one. I should say one of the reasons that I'm particularly interested in it is, as you may know from what's back there or from stuff I've shown before, I really like CRT displays, especially for period accurate stuff. And so one of the problems I find with modern recreations of older cabinets, there's like some little miniature cabinets and things, is the display, even with scanline effects turned on, if it's an LCD display, it usually looks quite different, and something's a little off. I suspect, and I'll show you my little demo here, and I have on order a really cheap cabinet from my arcade, like $25 toy-like, between $25 and $50 plastic toy-like Space Invaders arcade that uses this trick. So there's the LCD, and then there's the glass. And I think something about projecting from the LCD to that glass will look a lot closer to the original game than looking directly at LCDs versus directly at CRTs. Andy Calloway says, I wonder if you get multiple images using diachronic or dichromatic glass. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, that's a very good question. Maybe I'll do a deep dive on some of the different types of glass you can use. This I should also point out, I mentioned Haunted Mansion, really popular among Halloween haunt people is to create these types of effects in their yards or in their windows of Pepper's Ghost. So let me head over here to the workbench, and I'll explain a little bit what I've got going on here. Let me put a me in the corner over there, and I'm going to turn on this other microphone, and I am going to do some lighting changes. So right now I'm going to turn off that light, and I'm going to point this one that way. Okay, that'll help a little bit with the reflections. So let me bring up Discord. Let me know if you run into any issues, can't hear me, etc. I'll try to check back on that, but what I'm gonna do is, in fact, let's take the Discord first as an example. So what I have right here is a piece of acrylic. It's just a lid from a container, but it's fairly thin. What you want is either proper Pepper's Ghost style glass that has the coating to give you a mirror image on the front that's still see-through. If you use something like a regular acrylic, you're going to get a double image because there's going to be a reflection off the front and a refraction and a reflection off of the back side of it. So you get a little double image, especially when you have higher contrast stuff. Back here I just printed out some images of the background of Space Invaders and a little moon here. You get a 3D shadow box effect in the real game because this moon is cut out and quite a bit forward of the rest of it. And the backlight is wedged back there. We won't see it in this case just because I'm not making much separation, but that's how that works. So you can see right now, if I just there's my Discord chat, and if I put that right there, you'll see, okay, we're getting a reflection of, you can see my hand right here. In fact, I'm going to grab a light. Right, so here's a proper Pepper's Ghost type of effect. You can see this moon right here is quite bright, and that often I've heard people say about like reproductions of Space Invaders, if that moon is too bright, then the game appears to be between the moon and the sky, which is wrong. I have a darker one. Let me see if I can remove this without breaking everything. I have just the darker one here with no separation. That helps a bit to have that appear in front of the background, but it's so dark I think you can't see too well that we're even Pepper's ghosting. So we'll leave that there, but there's me, right? Pepper's ghosting in front of that moon. And I'm going to turn that off and bring up just a long play video on YouTube of Space Invaders. Turn off the sound on that. And I'm going to just stack that up on something, or shall I just hold it? I will try to hold that pretty still just to get, you know what, let me lower the moon down here. Let me move some stuff around. Okay, yeah, that'll work well, because now you can see pretty much the whole game. So I'm gonna focus here best I can. Okay, so now I'm focused on that. And I am going to see if I can turn up the brightness on my phone. There we go, maximum brightness. There we go. Zoom in just a little bit more. Okay. There we are. So obviously my lighting conditions aren't the greatest here. What I'm going to do real quick is turn off my main overhead light because you're getting a lot of spill, and I'll just try to backlight or fill in from the side the lighting on my cardboard. Okay, so I've just pointed a light that's mostly going to illuminate that background, which is a little truer to the game. Obviously, I've got nothing blocking light here, so I have to be real specific about my my lighting. But in the game, you have a whole cabinet, right? So if we put blockers on some of this stuff and try to still let the light through to the background, that's how the game will work. I'm darken this here, but it's a great effect, and it does not bother me the way normal looking right at a modern display LCD does compared to a CRT. I don't have it in a quick, easy way to run on a CRT right now, but I am curious about maybe I have some 5-inch black and white little PVMs and some 9-inch black and white PVMs, and those are going to have a razor sharp image. So that might look really nice. Let me see. I don't think we can do much about clearing that up any more than that. It's more the double image than the focus. That's the problem because one is in and one is out. The other thing, of course, is that this is not reversed, right? So that I would need to flip this image horizontally in order to be able to replicate accurately the game. Everything's backwards right now. So that's an interesting one that I'm sure there's a fairly straightforward solution. I have not looked. I don't know MAME and its settings that well. I'm guessing that there's some provision for mirror image flip just within MAME settings. That would make sense to me. I actually don't know if any display I have, including high-end BVMs and PVMs, can do a horizontal flip on the image. So I think it'd be more on the image that's being sent to the display side. But you can see here, this is, right, that's without my little piece of plexiglass here, and here's with, and it is a super not ideal material for this, so I'm gonna try to hone in on better materials. I think thinner is better, but we also want to avoid flexing, so it could be a very thin material in a stiff frame would do it. I have seen some of the Pepper's Ghost haunt people using a 3M film that's meant for insulating windows, so it's normally, I think, applied around a window frame, and then you can use a heat gun to stretch it taut. I've seen in dance and in circus and in different gyms, I've seen Mylar mirrors like this. So they're huge mirrors, but they're no danger of people breaking because it's just a piece of Mylar stretched around a frame and then use a heat gun to tighten it up. So there we go. That is the little Pepper's Ghost effect for Space Invaders that I'm thinking about trying to mess around with. Let me know if you have other ideas or experience with that. I've really not dealt with it that much. And there we go. Let me pop that mic on and get back here. Ooh, dramatic lighting. Yeah, I didn't turn the normal overheads back on. I guess we'll leave it like that. Some Nice said there's a similar technique in photography called axial lighting or through the lens lighting used for photographing shiny things like coins. Ah, interesting. Andy's got a roll of that in the back room. Cool. Is that the 3M stretch material? Cool. Let's see. Dan Coliano says, too bad your Parsec project Space Invaders wouldn't work. No backlight on the sharp image display. That's true. Yeah, you need to basically be projecting light. We need an emissive display, and that sharp display, memory display, is just a reflective one. So, but maybe, yeah, maybe, you know, something like this little TFT here. We could do a Lars Invaders with something like that. There's definitely some interesting something or other there. So expect to see more about that. I do, let's see. Yeah, Bertnar says, I believe the display needs to be super bright for that effect to work. Might keep an eye on the brightness when choosing the TFT. Oh, yeah. You know, I've never really looked at TFTs talking about how bright they can actually get. That's a good point. Andy Calloway got that when they made Becky's Infinity Mirror project. Oh, very cool. And I should talk to Aaron. I know Aaron St. Blaine has done some recent Pepper's Ghost effects. So it's a topic that's popular and has been explored a bit. So there should be some good info to get from people on that. Yeah, when I worked at Disney Research, there were a couple people there who I should try to get in touch with who are optical physicist type people who spent a lot of their time and energy on these types of, refining the materials for doing these types of optical effects. Still super popular and effective in the parks. Cool. Is that going to do it? I think it is. I think it would be a pretty short one today. I will actually, let me dive into one other recent thing. I'll turn the main light back on. And I'll go back over to that other bench in a second. The Pico TurboGrafx/PC Engine port that Frank Hodemacher's made that I showed a couple weeks ago, including the port of the PC Engine CD games and the Super Graphics. That got me wanting a TurboGrafx, and a TurboGrafx is expensive to get because they never were that popular in the US. But the PC Engine absolutely slayed in Japan, so you can get them pretty cheap. I think I spent $40 to get a PC Engine after just a couple days of searching eBay. So I got a PC Engine. I just want to show you that and the super cool little hue cards that go into it. So let me jump back here. And I won't do a live demo of it or anything because I'm not set up right now for that. Let me just show you the cool little console and one little add-on I got. So that right there. All right. So that's so bright. Let me get that light out of there and zoom out just a touch. So this is the console. They're tiny. This was sort of right before Super Nintendo, Super Famicom came out, and so it's an 8-bit processor, but with 16-bit graphics processing, I believe, is the distinction. I don't think they tried to pretend they were 16-bit. I know some consoles tried to fudge their numbers because the numbers became part of the marketing. But cool little console. Super cool cartridges, because the cartridges are these cards called Hue cards from Hudson Soft. So you just plug that in like that and power it up and off you go. Single controller port on it. Only video out is RF. So I have a RF converter, and yeah, it'll play RF, and it looks about as bad as you might expect. RF looking pretty grim on this. You could probably clean up that signal a little bit, but the super cool thing about the TurboGrafx from getting it to run on the best display possible side of things is on the back here. This is the external bus right here. This is I think 3x20 row set of pins that they had a couple official accessories they made that would plug into this. And one of them was a AV, I forget if they called it the AV booster or AV something or other, and it gave you composite video out. However, the RGB video, RGB and sync is actually on these. There's exposed pins with RGB sync. That is fantastic because most of the time when you're modding old consoles to give you the best possible picture, you're doing a bunch of internal modifications to tap into the RGB video signal before it gets kind of transformed into a composite or an S-video signal. So this is available here, and I think you maybe can tap into it directly, but it kind of needs some filtering and amplification. So there are a bunch of different solutions out there that are modern that have been made. This one was the DB Electronics graphics booster, and I got this on eBay, also used fairly cheap. And there are some cheap knockoff AliExpress things that I think people say work pretty good too, but I was able to get this nicer one, so that's cool. It uses a Sony chip for some of the amplification of the circuit here that people seem to like. So this just has the only the pins that are necessary for the RGB, and probably a couple of extras and some power and ground. But that plugs in back there, and what it gives you is a composite video with stereo. It gives you a S-video and stereo audio, and I have not tried that yet. And this is the RGB signal. I'm not sure if that's RGB sync and YPPBR component, but this is a Genesis style, Sega Genesis style cable that's really popular even on MiSTer machines for getting out some of your top quality audio. People just like that cable. So you can get a Genesis cable, which I haven't yet, that'll, I think, give you RGB sync, which would be great for plugging into a PVM. So pretty neat that a little add-on like that, and these can go down as low as, I think, I don't know, $15 for some of the AliExpress ones. And then there are more expensive things out there that do that. But pretty cool that you can get a super top quality video signal out of this machine. This is an incredible shooter that I've been playing, Superstar Soldier, and here's a remote for that. And I might be doing a project with these controllers. So anyway, kind of neat that this console and the TurboGrafx, which did not sell that many in the US and makes it kind of hard to find. There are loads and loads of these, 3 different revisions at least of this PC Engine, CoreFX, and the follow-up, CoreFX 2, I think. All pretty inexpensive, sometimes in bundles, sometimes in original boxes, all on eBay if you're willing to have them shipped from Japan, which sometimes is free, sometimes isn't that expensive, especially here to California. It's a pretty short ride, so definitely worth looking into. If you search for just TurboGrafx, you're spending like $300 for essentially the same console. I'm sure there's some issues with games too, but again, most of the games you'd do better to buy the Japanese ones for cheaper. Of course, this is all just silliness and nostalgia because I can play these on my Fruit Jam now. I used to be able to say I'd play that on a Raspberry Pi. Now you can play these on Fruit Jam, and I'll be working on the guide for the TurboGrafx / PC Engine Fruit Jam, as well as a couple other things. Frank just put out the SNES 9X emulator for Fruit Jam and a booter or launcher for all the emulators on Fruit Jam. So more Fruit Jam stuff to come, but hey, pretty cool. And watch out, it's 9 volts center negative for that adapter. So don't just plug your usual 9 volt center positive into that. There could be trouble. All right, turn off that mic. Yeah, they're cute. They really are. Main issue with them is they were white. I mean, they seem to not yellow too badly. Maybe that's not a plastic that yellows, but they do get dirty. That has some stains and things on it that are a little hard to get out. And I think there are some good cases for doing recapping, replacing capacitors, electrolytic capacitors on those. Oh, check out this collection right here. This is, where's my Discord? It's from Big Red Pimp. You've got, oh my gosh, there's so much in this world of, so look at this. There's the same one. I've got the PC Engine plugged into a little dock that gives you the sort of duo dock that gives you the CD-ROM add-on next to it. There's a CD-ROM add-on that it plugs into. Yeah, so that's a cool, you can see here on this Core 2, that expansion port on the back is a really neat thing because it just shunks into these giant add-ons. There was even one add-on that just gave you save states, and you could save games. That was it. That's all it could do. Anyway, a cool world of the PC Engine, and other than a little bit of playing of Bonk on my brother-in-law's TurboGrafx when I was like still in college, I never messed with these much. So now I'm getting into them, and they're great if you like shmups, if you like shooters. That's the place to be. All right, enough of that. I think that's going to do it. I will remind you, if you want to save some money over in this shop, that is your coupon code for today, Ampere. That will save you 10% off in the Adafruit shop until midnight tonight. Go check it out. Thanks, everyone, so much for stopping by. I believe Scott is going to be doing a deep dive tomorrow. Foamy Guy has been doing some Saturday deep dives, so keep an eye out on the socials and the Discord for that. Anything else? No, I think that's it. I'll be back Tuesday with Product Pick of the Week. We'll be back on Wednesday with a 3D Hangouts and a show and tell. And Phil and Lamore have been planning some little weekly videos that they're going to be getting into, so keep an eye out for some video action from them as they get ramped back up. Also, lots of products coming. Lamore's got some cool products coming. I don't know what I'm allowed to reveal, so I'll just say there should be neat stuff in the future. All right, thanks everyone so much for stopping by. I am John Park. That's Lars. That's Lemon Squeezy. That's us. This is my workshop. I'm gonna get out of here and go play some shmups or something. Radio for John Park. This is John. Bye-bye. Thank you.